And joining us now are Ed Yohnka, Communications Director of the ACLU of Illinois, and Ahmed Rehab, Executive Director of the Chicago Office of the Council on American Islamic Relations. We should note we extended an invite to a representative of the Trump administration as well as the Israeli consulate and the Anti-Defamation League, but they either declined or did not respond. We are glad you're here. Mr. Rehab, is there evidence that Mr. Khalil was somehow supporting Hamas or some kind of Hamas sleeper agent?
There is no evidence of that. The only evidence we have is of a young man who's standing up for his people against genocide, against death and destruction, dispossession, against maiming. And so he joins many Americans, Palestinians, Muslims, Christians, as well as Jews and others who are standing against this genocide. And because of that stance, he was targeted. And because of that stance, he was delegitimized and essentially abducted and detained, and now God knows what's going to happen.
And the Trump administration has admitted there is no criminal act that they believe he has taken. Well, what do we know right now, Ahmed Rehab, about Mr. Khalil's situation? Where is he and what is his status?
We know that he's in this limbo. There's been a court hearing, and obviously his attorneys are trying to fight back this abduction, right, and this very extrajudicial and illegal way of dealing with a person who is expressing his freedom of speech in this country. This is about the ruler, quote unquote, right, the king who was supposed to be a president, thinking that he has the right to determine what any student in America can believe and can say, what generally held beliefs they can have and express. This is what this is truly about, and it's very scary because it goes to the very heart of what makes us America, the freedom of expression, the freedom of conscience. Just recently, J.D. Vance himself from the White House was lecturing European leaders about the need to allow for freedom of speech and expression in Europe, and wagging his fingers mostly on behalf of the right-wing narratives in Europe, which is fine. But here he comes along, and this is the same White House and the same president that not too long ago stood with the protesters, quote unquote, the ones who were violent in attacking the Capitol Hill. And he said they were great patriots. But here you have a young American to be saying that I stand with my people against genocide, and he's the one that we have to chuck out of this country.
All right, well, I want to read a statement from the Anti-Defamation League on this case. They say, quote, "We firmly believe there should be swift and severe consequences for those who provide material support to foreign terrorist organizations, incite violence in support of terrorist activities, or conceal their identities in order to harass and intimidate Jewish individuals and institutions with impunity. We appreciate the Trump administration's broad, bold set of efforts to counter campus anti-Semitism, and this action further illustrates that resolve by holding alleged perpetrators responsible for their actions. Obviously, any deportation action or revocation of a green card or visa must be undertaken in alignment with required due process. We also hope that this action serves as a deterrent to others who might consider breaking the law on college campuses or anywhere." A bit of a hedging or cryptic statement there from the Anti-Defamation League, which does call out civil rights abuses, and they've focused specifically on it, anti-Semitism. But Ahmed Rehab, have universities effectively handled this as part of the problem that perhaps the Trump administration is coming in here to set an example because they don't like the way universities handle it?
There is this chilling factor, this scorched earth approach by this administration that has targeted universities as it has targeted student protesters and civil rights organizations. And in terms of this statement, I have to say, which is rather weak, on one side of their mouth, they're sort of saying, yes, you can't do this unless there is due process. But on the other side of their mouth, in a full-throated way, they're supporting what this administration is doing, coming after this young man. And you see this in the very beginning. You see the contradiction. They're saying material support for terrorism cannot stand. Well, I agree with that. But we're not looking at that here. He's not being charged with that here. If that were the case, there would be a crime that he would be charged with. Instead, what we're seeing is retaliation through the immigration system, weaponizing ICE to punish somebody who's gone through the system legally in order to penalize him for his beliefs. And I'll close with this on this point. Zionism in this country is increasingly becoming the sort of thing that you can't talk about and criticize. And that's the elephant in the room. Not a lot of people are willing to say that, but we need to start having this conversation. You can critique and criticize America, but you can't criticize Israel and Zionism. That's what this is about.
And certainly there was a proposed federal law to that effect that hasn't gone anywhere, but certainly that is a larger issue, and we do want to have conversations on that.